What's gonna happen next in the stock market? My name is Cory and welcome to the Stocks channel. In tonight's episode, we're gonna do stock market technical analysis, and first up, we're gonna take a look at the S&P 500 SPY ETF. So let's crack open this chart and see what's going on in the stock market today. Alright, first up, just a reminder that panic selling is not a trading strategy, and in bull markets, we wanna buy the dip. So I start out with saying that because if you panic sold this morning, you were regretting it by the middle of the day, and if you bought the dip, you were celebrating by the middle of the day. It's very important to understand the trend in the stock market because that's what's driving the price action. So if we look at the SPY ETF, we see we had a pretty flat day today, but we did have a lot of volatility intraday. We gapped down and then we had a little bit of a sell-off early morning, but we did find support at the top of that gap at 364 and we did close higher on the day from the open. So looking at the price action, we closed back above the 13 EMA, which is still bullish, but we are still below that 5 EMA. Now, being below the 5 EMA is not a big deal because we did have this epic bull run where we were running up every single day, closing over the 5 EMA, and we're just really starting to cool off a little bit before we head higher. So we still have the really strong bullish trend, and that trend is pushing the price higher. The closer the price action gets to these moving averages, the more support we're likely going to start finding. And we now have that 20 simple moving average starting to cross over our previous all-time high at 363. So there's only going to be more and more support at higher and higher prices the longer this bull market goes on. So looking at the price action and looking at the trend, they're both bullish and our price target above remains at $377. So we are having a little bit of a cool off with SPY, and we did have that sell off yesterday and we pretty much went nowhere today on the closing prices. But that's bullish for the stock market because we're starting to cool off and we're no longer overbought. And now the price action in the trend can continue and we're likely going to continue to start heading higher. So as far as support levels go on SPY, watch that 13 EMA right around 365 and the gap below at 363. Just below that gap, we have previous resistance, which is newfound support at 362. So there is a lot of support in this area because the 20 simple moving average is also at that support area. So if we do start to see any more selling, I would be a buyer at those levels. And if you're completely shooken out of your position, consider scaling back in because there is more upside to this market. Now, if you're too scared to buy in, I totally understand. And it's never a bad idea to go to cash when you're uncertain about what's going on in the stock market. I would only say that if you're too scared to buy in now, don't start buying in later at much higher prices. That's called chasing a stock price, and we don't want to chase. We want to buy low and we want to take profits as it heads higher. Next up is the Nasdaq 100 QQQ ETF, and we also see the Nasdaq did have a gap down, and intraday the price action did go right above the 20 simple moving average before finding support. We did close green today on the Nasdaq, going up 0.4%, and we're over the 13 EMA, so we still got some pretty bullish price action going on. It does look like we found some resistance at the 5 EMA and we saw some selling when we got there, but there's still opportunity for the Nasdaq to continue to climb higher because we still have this really strong bullish trend, which is now going to start pushing prices higher. We did find support around the 20 simple moving average, which is always a bullish sign, and that 20 simple moving average is still positive sloping and it's going to start pushing the price action higher. So on the Nasdaq 100 QQQs, our price target remains $312, and it looks like now that we've cooled off, we could start getting there in a hurry. So looking at the Nasdaq, we still got bullish price action and bullish trending, and I'm looking for the Nasdaq to continue to head higher. On the Dow Jones DIA ETF, we pretty much went absolutely nowhere today, only going down negative 0.11%. And we did find support right at that 13 EMA, and we did close above support at $300. So we're still finding support where we expect in a bull run, and that's going to be on these moving averages and these previous resistance levels that we've now broken above. So the Dow Jones looks like it's just going through a little bit of a consolidation and it's cooling off and it's getting ready to start heading up for another leg higher. Next up is the ARK-K ETF. And man, if you bought this thing at the open, you were celebrating by the end of the day because this thing just ripped all day long and went much higher. So it does look like we almost closed that gap at 117, and this was the first support buy level that I gave in last night's video. So if you were watching last night's video, this was a great area to start scaling into ARK-K. And if you bought this morning, you were celebrating by the end of the day because we got all the way back up to our price target at 125. So we're now back at resistance at ARK-K. So if we start breaking back above 125, that is going to be a breakout and we're likely going to start heading up to our next price target, which is way up here at $128. So ARK-K is still looking really bullish and you can see how strong this bullish trend is. It is going to take a lot of bearish price action to reverse this trend. And I don't know how you could look at a chart like this and see this price action and see this trend and think anything other than extreme bullishness. Remember, don't try to call a top, just go with the trend. If you're bearish, don't try to short, just go to cash. You're trying to jump in front of a moving bus if you're trying to short this market, and I guarantee you it's not going to feel good. Next up is the VIX, which is our fear indicator, and we did see the VIX squeak up a little bit, going up over 1%, but it was on a day that the S&P 500 was down and relatively flat. So we're still seeing a little bit of volatility increasing, but nothing of huge concern. As long as we can stay below resistance at 24.8, the VIX is likely to still find resistance and start heading back lower. So this is just a natural cooling off and selling off period where the VIX is spiking because there is a lot of people becoming bearish as the stock market heads higher. But I don't see anything in the VIX that tells us that this bear trend and the bear price action is going to end anytime soon. And if we do start to see the 5 EMA cross back above and we do start seeing the VIX go up continually, we might have to reverse that statement and say we could see some additional selling. But right now, I don't see anything in the VIX that's of concern, and I am expecting to see fear continue to leave this market. Next up is the US dollar, and we see the dollar continue to weaken. So it looks like the dead cat bounce is now ending, and we're starting to head back lower. So we'll watch this support level to see if we see a bounce, but a weak dollar is a strong stock market. So if the dollar is continually heading lower, I'm going to expect to see the stock market continue to head higher. With a weak dollar, we should see strong gold, and it does look like gold was cooling off while the dollar was bouncing. But if the dollar is starting to head back lower, we're going to start expecting to see gold head back higher. So watch for our first resistance level on gold at 1860. And if we break back above 1860, we want to see that level act as support on our way up to 1930. So I'm bullish on gold, and this looks like a great opportunity to start scaling into gold. If you've been considering adding gold to your position, this is the absolute best time to start doing so because we just had a nice impulsive move and we're now having a correction to that move right before we go into another impulsive move. So you want to identify these trends in the market and you want to try to buy low and then ride that position higher and start taking profits at these resistance levels. On silver, we see a very similar sign. We were cooling off a little bit while the dollar was bouncing. And now that the dollar is weakening, we're starting to see some strength and we're starting to see silver find some support. So our price target on silver remains at our resistance level at $25. Next up is Bitcoin, and it's in a do or die situation. On Bitcoin, the moving averages are starting to cross to the bear side. If these moving averages cross over and we start getting a bearish trend picking up on Bitcoin, we could head all the way back down to the 50 EMA down around $16,000. Now there is support levels on the way down, but Bitcoin usually sells off in a very fast manner and we could overshoot to the downside and come all the way down to 14,000. So it also looks like the volume is looking pretty weak on Bitcoin, and I don't really see a lot of bulls stepping in and buying at these prices for whatever reason. So Bitcoin's looking weak, but it is a do or die situation and it could start bouncing soon and fix this chart. Next up is Apple stock, our market moving stock, and we did see Apple go up 1.2% today. Apple found support at its previous breakout, which is newfound support right around $120 and started running once it hit there. So we did close up somewhere around 123 and we are back below our previous resistance level at 124. So Apple needs to break and close above 124 to head to our next price target way up here at $136. Apple's looking really good. We see bullish price action with a bullish trend, and it's likely Apple's going to continue to head higher. On financials, we're still getting bullish price action over the 5 EMA, and we still have a very strong bullish trend. On industrials, the price action is still trading above the 13 EMA, and the bullish trend is still very strong. On the healthcare sector, the price action's over the 5 EMA, and the bullish trend is picking up momentum because we're starting to see some separation from the 13 EMA and that 20 simple moving average. So going back to the S&P 500, we do see all of the sectors looking bullish, including the tech sector, because the Nasdaq 100 did go up 0.4% today. So with all of the sectors with bullish price action and bullish trending, it's hard to imagine that the S&P 500 won't continue to head higher. We're seeing the VIX spike a little bit, but we are seeing a weak dollar. And as long as we have a weak dollar and we see low fear in the market and we see bullish sectors across the board, I'm expecting to see the S&P 500 continue to trend higher towards our price target of $377. Remember, panicking is not a trading strategy. And in a bull market, you want to try to buy the dip and take advantage of the low prices. And you want to sell as the stock market continues to head higher and start locking in some of those profits. If you're looking for a disciplined trading community, consider joining the Stocks Channel Discord, and you can find out how to join in the link in the description of the video below. And remember, if you are bearish on this market, please do not try to short it because you're only going to get burned. Speaking of getting burned, welcome to Hot Stocks. First up, we're going to do Tesla, and you Tesla bulls just don't quit, do you? Tesla gapped all the way down below the 13 EMA, but said, hey, this is a great buying opportunity, and drove the price all the way back up over the 5 EMA, going up over 3.7% today. So it does look like previous resistance level at that 587 did act as support because we had no trouble blasting right through it, and we did close higher on the day. But we still have to look above at 647 because we are struggling around this area, and we have yet to prove that Tesla can close and stay above 647. So that is the level you want to watch as possible resistance. And if Tesla can stay and close above 647, our next price target above is around $690. But keep in mind, there is a lot of risk in Tesla stock. I have it ending a fifth wave here, and after a fifth wave, we're going to go through somewhat of a short-term bear market. Now, I don't know where the top is, and nobody really truly does, but it is going to be one of these price targets that we continue to find resistance at. So if 647 continues to hold up as resistance, go ahead and just take your profits and wait it out, because it's not likely we're going to keep heading higher if we keep topping out at that level. If we break and close above 647, look out above for about $690. Our next hot stock is NIO stock, and NIO stock is still finishing a wave 4 here, which means we're likely to start heading back into a wave 5 soon. And in wave 5 is when we can make a lot of money going to the long side of the position. So we need to really jump over to a 1 hour chart to see what the heck's going on with NIO stock. And we see that NIO stock is still in a very long consolidation period. When we get into these consolidations, we don't want to guess when they're going to break out. We just want to watch the stock, and we want to be patient. It's possible that NIO stock can still come all the way down to around $41 to $43 before finding support and bouncing. But the thing we need to watch for on NIO stock is a breakout of this resistance trend line. If we break out and close above resistance, this is going to be somewhere around a close above $45. After we break above 45, we still need to break out and close above 48, and then we're likely heading into wave 5 and we're going to see much higher prices. So we still need to be patient on NIO, and it's still not quite time to go long on this stock unless you're really going long and you're in it for the long haul. But as a trader, we want to wait for the right opportunity, and we want to try to time the bottom as closely as possible so that we can maximize our profits. It's still completely possible that NIO breaks out of this consolidation to the downside and heads all the way back to the 50 EMA around $38. We also have a Fibonacci support level around $39. So it's still too soon to say that it's time to buy NIO, but NIO is still a hot stock, and we're going to continue to cover it until wave 5 ends. So just be patient, hold on, and wait for the wild ride that's coming soon. Next up is Palantir stock, and we did see Palantir close up in the green, going up 1.54% today. We also got a bullish close over the 5 EMA. So the question on Palantir stock is, are we done with our ABC correction? We could be, but I still think we're going to see $24 at least one more time. It is still possible that we break below 24 and find support somewhere around this 20 simple moving average or the previous support at $21. Now, this is a hot stock, and it does like running when there's a lot of people buying in, and this C wave could get truncated and we might not actually reach $24. So there's still the possibility we're going to come down and find support at one of these moving averages, which means we could come down and find support at $25 and start running. But the real confirmation that we're going back into a bull market on Palantir is the break of our resistance trend line, which is somewhere around a break and close above $29. Once we break and close above $29, it's likely that we're going to start running yet again. Next up is AMD stock, and we did have AMD stock on hot stocks in the past, and it has cooled off ever since we broke above 92 and found resistance at 94. It looks like AMD is finding support around its moving averages, and it's going to have to start breaking back up through 92 and $94 to start heading to our next price target at $99. This stock does look like a runner, and it does look like it's getting ready to cool off and start heading higher towards 99. You want to buy off these support levels, and you want to hold them until we reach these price targets. Next up is TWLO stock, and this is by far my favorite hot stock, and I'm extremely bullish on this stock. If you remember in last night's episode, I said you want to buy this stock on the dip and you want to sell it as it rips, and that's exactly what it did today. It found support at the previous resistance right around 306, and it did close above the 13 EMA. So yesterday and this morning were great buy the dip opportunities for TWLO, and if you bought the dip, you were handsomely rewarded because we went up over 7% today on TWLO stock. Now remember, my first price target was 338, and we did hit that today, so today was a great place to take some profits. So I'm looking to buy TWLO back up at support right around 321, and I want to hold TWLO until we break above 338 and start heading to my next price target, which is all the way up here at 373. This stock is an absolute monster, and when it starts running, you want to stay the heck out of its way, and you want to buy low and just let it run. Next up is DraftKings stock, and it's still cooling off a little bit, but if we switch over to a 1 hour chart, you can see that the previous resistance is holding up as support, and we did get a confirmation bounce. So I'm still really bullish on DraftKings stock, and I'm looking for it to start heading back higher towards our price target at $54. Next up is Boeing stock, and Boeing stock passed the test today, holding up above support right around 230 and closing back above the 5 EMA. So if you were waiting for an opportunity to get into Boeing stock and you still haven't bought, well, what are you waiting for? That was the dip you were waiting for. So if you didn't get in now, don't try to get in later when it's sitting up here at our price target of $260. So there you have it, everybody. Those are our hot stocks for the night. And if you want more hot stocks just like this, consider joining the Stocks Channel Discord, where we talk about all kinds of hot stocks each and every day. You can find out how to join the Stocks Channel Discord in the link of the description below of the video. Good luck out there, everybody. I hope you're crushing it in this market and making lots of profits. Thanks for watching, and as always, I will see you in the next episode.